Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And for those of you who haven't noticed, to start off the year 2024, Verizon is pushing value and savings on their postpaid brand. So this is an article from Yahoo Finance. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. Verizon customers can save more in 2024. Looking across Verizon's social media outlets, they're heavily pushing the $25 entry-level price point, which is very unlike Verizon. Verizon is really looking to raise the service revenue and profits, and they have stated at multiple conferences and earnings calls that they're very strategically and smartly looking at how they grow that base. So they're not really looking for that low-end customer. They're looking for the high-end premium customer, and they've voiced that plenty of times. Tired of hearing about New Year's resolutions? Us too. So Verizon is making it easy for people to achieve their smarter spending goal that many set at the start of each year. Today, Verizon is sharing new deals across mobile, home, and streaming to help customers save big on things they love while achieving their savings goal in 2024. So that first part was all about savings, and that's not really what Verizon is known for by perception. If you want to keep your current device but want access to all Verizon has to offer, we got you covered, and now is the time to switch. For a limited time, when you switch and bring your phone, so this is a BYOD deal. Bring your phone into Verizon, get unlimited welcome, which is their entry-level plan, for $25 per line per month with 4 lines and auto pay. And the price is guaranteed for 3 years. But, what happens after 3 years? Does it go up? Who knows? So, and a new 5G phone on us. New year, new you, new phone. It's time to trade in your old device with Verizon exclusive guaranteed trade-in offer for select 5G smartphones. Now new customers can bring in select phones, any condition guaranteed, and get a new one on us with the unlimited ultimate plan. So interesting that Verizon is pushing this to start off the year. So, we don't really have to backtrack much. For those of you who follow the channel, you've heard me say plenty of times, Verizon, by history, their worst quarter is always Q1. Has been that way, and it hasn't changed. And now that we have these price increases inbound, and then usually we have reduced promotion as well versus what we see in Q4, the holiday quarter. So this is very interesting. This is a bit of a change, I must say. For Verizon, that has all these MVNO brands, has TracFone, has Total by Verizon, is pushing the savings and some bigger promotions into Q1 on its postpaid brand is very different. So this might be another tactic and strategy for Verizon to try and turn it around. This could be added like, hey, look, we really need to try and get some positive momentum on the consumer side. So we're going to try this into Q1. And I stated this very early in Q4, the trade in your phone in any condition, that's a big deal. There's lots of people out there that have a little crack, even if it's just the slightest crack. If T-Mobile and AT&T review that device and they see like, hey, look, this is a crack, they won't take that device, but Verizon will. So that's still, the fact that they're running it in Q1, that's still a big deal, right? That can't go unnoticed. If you're stuck with a phone right now, it's cracked, broken, whatever, you can't pay it off right this second, trade it in at Verizon, get a new phone with them, and then just pay it off at a later time with the carrier you're with, whenever you get to it. And I know it might go delinquent, but whatever, right? So this is very interesting to see this coming from Verizon to really push save more in 2024. It's really a smart thing, right? If you think about it, tax season's around the corner. To really push this might activate the other carriers to also remain somewhat promotionally heavy in Q1. And why not spark some competition? See, that's the thing that I felt Verizon has always lacked. They've lacked that competitiveness. They haven't, they're like, oh, we had the best network, root metrics 20 times in a row. You're going to pay to be on a network. And that's how Verizon, that's how it's always felt that they presented it. Like, hey, we want the premium customer. But now it's a bit different. With all of the brands that Verizon now owns with TracFone, and then they got the cable deal with the MVNOs, they got Total by Verizon, Straight Talk, there is, and US Mobile. So there's plenty. And this was not the case in previous years during LTE. But now there are plenty of different ways to be on the Verizon network for less. That's a big problem that Verizon proper will have to overcome. You can choose Mobile X, Straight Talk, like I mentioned, TracFone, Total by Verizon. I mean, there's so many thousands of brands, Spectrum, Comcast, Xfinity. I mean, there's thousands of brands out there. Different ways to choose Verizon and still be on that network for a cheaper cost. And that's something that Verizon will have to overcome. Now, most of the average consumers, they won't know, right? But eventually these companies are going to get smart and say, hey, you could still be on the Verizon network, but for less. And I don't know if they can advertise that. I'm just throwing that out there. But it's, like I said, there are multiple ways to still be on the Verizon network, but pay less. So maybe Verizon is starting to realize, like, hey, look, we really got to change our go-to-market. We got to change our strategy. We got to change our marketing. We got to be more competitive. And maybe we spark the competition. Screw it. We've been losing on consumer. They know the churn numbers already. Q1's already started. So they know. They know the churn. They know what the traffic will look like. They have projections and stuff. So they know. So, again, we'll see what happens. They're pushing this very heavy, it seems, for 2024. We'll see how this goes for the remainder of Q1. It's still early. We're in the first few days of Q1. So we'll see how it turns out. But do keep in mind, before I close out the video, Verizon generally has its worst quarter of the year in Q1. And that's been for the last 5 years. That hasn't really changed. So maybe Sampath, maybe Hans, maybe they got together and say, hey, look, we need to change this around. We can't keep losing. The competition is getting stronger. Their networks are improving. They're gaining even more scale. And there recently was some commentary from Roger Etner also stating, like, hey, look, these CEOs that were previously at Verizon and AT&T, they really didn't fight back against the Sprint T-Mobile merger. And now it's created a problem for them. And he made a good point. Those CEOs are no longer around. So that's interesting. T-Mobile is really a problem, and they're gaining scale each and every quarter in some part of the country. So that's another headache that Verizon will have to deal with. T-Mobile is not done gaining scale. We're at the start of 24. At the end of 2024, T-Mobile will be a bigger network than they were even at the beginning of this year. And at the end of 2025, T-Mobile will be an even bigger wireless network than they were at the beginning of 2024. So that's a headache for Verizon to have to deal with another competitor that can offer a similar or better network in these areas from worst to first before you can get there with C-band and they get there with their mid-band, right? So Verizon has to take all of that into consideration. All of the brands that you can now choose from still be on their network for less. They got to worry about T-Mobile gaining scale. Now you got Dish, starting to build their network and starting some competition in the urban core. So that's how you have to keep an eye on that. Maybe include that in the run rate sometime in the future. Then you got to worry about AT&T. The fiber build, the large network, native network from FirstNet that will be bigger by the end of this year as well. So Verizon has to look at all of that. And they got to monitor. They got to be, they got to look at all the numbers closely And that's how they make their determination on how they proceed. And it looks like, based on this, they're going with the value approach, cheaper model, maybe change the perception like, hey, Verizon may not be that expensive, and still somewhat remain promotionally heavy for the quarter. So make sure you guys stay tuned for more. If you're new, like, share, subscribe, follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.